Hello, everyone, and welcome to K All. I'm your host, Angel, and today we are here with a Billboard Hot 100 chart topping songwriter whose lyrics has touched hearts across the globe. From Jennie and Cordis to BTS, from everywhere to Korea, her pen has shaped the soundtrack of 2026. Give it up for the brilliant A.Chic.
Hey, oh my God, I'm
Woo!
just getting my voice back. So that was a weak little woo, but
It's okay. It was adorable. I loved it. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you
thank you for
introduce
having
yourself?
me. I'm good with words and then until I get to this part. Hi, everybody. I'm A.Chic. I'm a songwriter, artist, creative director, stylist, but today we will be talking about the creative process, I guess, and just me as a songwriter.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very exciting. So, why don't you share with the audience the songs that you worked on specifically for Arirang?
Specifically for Arirang. So
Mm-hmm.
I worked on Swim, Normal, Like Animals, Body to Body, and Hooligan.
Absolutely incredible lineup right there.
All my favorites. Mhm.
Honestly, my favorites too. I adore those tracks. And I really want to congratulate you on being named one of Spotify's songwriters to watch for 2026.
I we love when the research is done. Thank you.
Of course, you deserve to have research properly done. You're an incredible human being, and I had to congratulate you. Truly, especially, I was so inspired by how you opened up about how you hadn't written for about 5 years. There was a point where you put down the pen, and then you said how God will go to great lengths to get you back in position. So I'm kind of curious if you could take us back to that turning point and how you ended up on this massive project. How did that unfold for
Oh
you?
my gosh, I just love the research. Also, like, I feel so seen.
I do see you.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, there was definitely a time where the music business is tough. I don't think you're really an artist if you haven't quit at least 100 times. So, or an entrepreneur at all. You know what I mean? Like we all get. Shoot, I quit 48 hours ago. I was like, I quit. My lawyer, my management are like, no, you don't. I was like, okay, maybe you're right. Um, But yeah, there was definitely a time where I felt like things were very heavy and I was just kind of done with music. Not that I didn't love it. I think, you know what? Let me correct myself. I wasn't done with music. I was done with the business. There's
Mm.
a big difference, right? I ended up going to Atlanta just basically like on a vacation. I was just like calling some friends that I knew, and one of those friends happened to be a producer named Needles. And Needles goes to me, he's like, what are you doing? You've just been gone and like where you been at? And I'm like, man, I'm done with this. Like, I'm out of here. And he's like, no, you're not. Come to Atlanta, give it a try, go pack. Cause I'm from South Florida originally. So he was like, come to Atlanta and give it a try. And I was just like, you know what have I got to lose? Fine, I'll do it. And here we
Yeah,
are. Yeah,
here we are.
here we are.
Incredible. It's amazing. So, what was the very first meeting like with the BTS members, and how did you break that songwriting ice to get to a place where you could write so transparently from the heart? Because that's a big project to be a part of and a big space to
Yeah.
be involved in with your own creative spirit.
That's such a great question. So the tea is, girl, I thought RM hated me when I first worked with.
Really?
Yes. So
No way.
So when I first worked with him, I got the call from an A&R named Nicole Kim, who
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Nicole. She is absolutely Nicole has such an ear and an eye for talent, and she's so gifted and just an amazing spearhead. I first worked with Nicole when we were doing the Jennie Ruby album. She was working on the
Yes.
Jennie Ruby album. I did Zen with
Mm-hmm.
BB Borelli, Jelly, and a
Yes.
producer named Plus.
Love
So
that song.
Nicole called me. It's so good. Thank you. So
You're
Nicole
welcome.
called me like a year later and was like, "Hey, would you want to work on BTS?" And I was like, "Girl, is water wet?"
Exactly.
I didn't say that part. That was just going through my head. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay," but then you gotta play it cool. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, girl, okay." And
Yeah.
so then I didn't hear from her for like 4 months. So
Wow.
then she hits me again one day and she's like, "Hey, so those BTS sessions." And I was like, "Yeah, like just let me know." She goes, "You're going to be working with RM." And I'll be very, very transparent. I was very familiar with BTS, but I wasn't fully familiar with the actual members and their roles. And
Mm-hmm.
so I did my research and I was like, "Oh, okay, he's the lead of the group and stuff." So I was like, "All
Mm-hmm.
right, cool. Like, let's do it.
Mhm.
So the day that I get there, me and Derek actually walked up at the same time. Shout out to Derek.
Aw.
And I'm like, Derek, do you know what we're doing? And he's like, no, do you? And I'm like, come, no, I don't. And we were just like, all right, we're about to find out. So,
Exactly.
so I get there and basically they just started explaining to me the guys' stance and like where they are and how they have a bunch of incredible songs that they've kind of already picked out, but they need these songs to be a little bit more personal to them. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay. So they put like a couple, a stack of like songs in front of me. And they were just like, a lot of these are, great melodies already. And the ideas are somewhat there, but they don't really feel unique and personal to the guys just yet. And that's where they wanted my help. And I was like, okay, well, cool, let's figure it out. So RM comes in and he's very, very nice, but a serious man. And I was just like, hi. And he said hi. And so we're first sitting there, and the first record we began to work on was Swim. And Swim originally had like a more relationship tone. It was more about like doting on a woman. And they were just like, we kind of want this to be more universal. So I was like, well, maybe we could just make it about like swimming through life. There's a lot of people that are having a hard time. Life is lifing for a lot of people. And I think that music is supposed to tell the time, right? It's supposed to
Mhm.
narrate the times. Let's maybe make this more about navigating life.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, yeah, we love that. So we're sitting there and, we're coming up with lyrics and all the stuff. And at first, a lot of the things that I'm like throwing out there, arms like, no, that's not really it. No, that's not really it. And I'm like, oh boy,
You're
okay.
like, "Uh-oh."
And then finally, after like maybe 3 hours, he was like, I don't really want to work on this anymore. And I was like, oh crap.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So I was like, well, I'm very grateful for the time. Thank you for having me, X, Y, and
Mhm.
Z. So in my mind, I was like, well, there's that.
Yeah.
So then I get a call at like 3:30 in the morning from Nicole, and she's like, RM loves you and he really wants to work with you for the next few days. And I was like,
Wow.
what?
Like
I was like, what? Yeah, what are you talking about? And she's like, "He really wants to work with you for, like, the next few days, like, can you please, like, clear your schedule?" And I was supposed to fly out of town the next day. So I was like, "Let me see what I can do." So I started, like, messaging all my, like, collaborators that I was supposed to collaborate with out of town,
Mhm.
and I was just like, "Guys, I'm working on a big project." I couldn't say what it was at the time, but I was
Of
like, "I'm working on a
course.
big project, like, can you guys just give me some grace?" And they were like,
Mhm.
"Absolutely, she." So I called Nicole back, and I'm like, "Okay, you got me for the next, like, week and a half." And she's like, "Okay, perfect."
Amazing.
The next day, they're like, "Well, he doesn't wanna work in the studio." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "He wants to work in open air." And I was like,
Mm.
"Alright, open air it is."
Let's
So,
do it.
they rented us a house in Santa Monica, and we
Wow.
actually finished Swim in front of the ocean, which was
Oh
really,
my
really cool.
goodness. That
That
is
was
really
really
cool.
nice. And after that, the next song we moved on to was Normal, which you
Mhm.
see in the Netflix clip,
Yes.
us working on Normal and us just really, like, discussing what their normal is.
Yeah.
And how to make the song because RM is very big on, like, things not feeling he very much wants to feel connected. He wants the fan base to feel connected. He doesn't want it to feel very, like, like you're over here, like, I'm up here and you're down here. He doesn't want that.
Mhm.
So, that's where we started, like, really trading those ideas and just me having to encourage him and just being like, "Hey, you should say the things you wanna say." Like,
Exactly.
me, I don't give a damn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I'm Spitfire, so it was
Mhm.
very easy for me to just be like, "Say it! Say
Yeah.
it!" You know what I mean?
To give him that
Um,
push.
exactly. So that was basically like the beginning of it, and what I came to realize in hindsight, what I thought was that he didn't like me, it absolutely wasn't that. It was the pressure of being away for so long
Mhm.
and not knowing how your fans were going to receive you, not knowing if they would receive this new sound, being in a new space in your life and wanting to convey that new space and how do you do it and not lose the people that have been with you since day one? So it was all of these, a
Yeah.
range of emotions. And once he started opening up about those things and I realized how much he cared and how important
Yeah.
this stuff was, it
Yeah.
was easy for me to jump into like compassion mode and honestly into like
Exactly.
sister mode and just be like,
Yeah.
no, like you can say it, like the people are going to love you guys.
Mhm.
People don't just abandon people they love. It's okay. You know what I mean? So that was, yeah.
Absolutely. That's really beautiful. It's incredible. I think that the fact that you were able to work and collaborate like that so incredibly, even after the initial fear of, oh, whoa, I don't think he likes me, it's more
Yeah.
there was a respect for you and the fact that you
Yeah.
knew how to communicate with him and pull emotions out that maybe he was afraid to face after everything he experienced within
For
the military and then coming
yeah.
back and writing this groundbreaking music. So it's really exciting to learn about that process. And I love how you mentioned about his emphasis on that connection with the fans and wanting to feel like there isn't a hierarchy. I think that's something that comes out in Body to Body a little bit, although that wasn't the original intention of the lyrics. So I'd love to hear
No.
more about how that unfolded.
So Body to Body was definitely also like a little bit it was more what's the word I'm looking for? Sensual.
Yes.
It was originally more sensual, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, "Well, maybe we can kinda make it more about, like, a crowd," you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
lean more into that. I know Tizo Touchdown, who worked
Mm-hmm.
on it as well. But when RM and I kinda sat there, we were just, like, imagining what that would feel like again. More so what their initial reactions are gonna be and just, like, that crowd feeling again, like that warm up,
Yeah.
which only made sense that the song kicked the project off. I didn't know originally that they were gonna use that song to start the project, and I also didn't know that they were gonna add the Arirang folk song at the end,
Yes.
which, not for nothing, when I heard the album and I heard that part, I was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." That
Yeah.
was
Me too.
that yeah, that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. It moved me. It was so emotional, especially the fact that they were able to tie that human intimacy and connection that you discussed with RM, and then
Mm,
also bring in their Korean heritage and their roots and combining
for
that
sure, for
holistically.
sure.
And I know you also had a chance to watch the Netflix Live Soul performance and see your
I
songs come to
did,
life. So I'd love to hear your experience with that. Was that your first time seeing them? And how did it feel
yeah.
hearing the music?
That was my first time seeing them in concert, yes, and I
Mm-hmm.
won't lie, I was like, "Oh, I get it." I I
Yes.
get it. I
Mm-hmm.
I got it before, but I get it now.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because Derek and I were texting. Derek was also in Seoul at the
Yes.
time, and so was Ink. Shout out to Ink, she worked on 2.0. We were all kinda there watching it, and it I think at one point, like, we couldn't even look at our phones. It was just so just like, "Oh my gosh," you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, just the energy of just being in Seoul. Korea is just it's such a one of a kind place that has just such a
Absolutely.
magnetic it's such a magnetic, peaceful, like, wholesome energy. They know how to party, don't get me wrong, like, they know how
Yeah.
to party. But it's weird because they know how to party, but they're not belligerent and, like, rude, and you know what I
Mhm.
mean? They're just like, "We just wanna have a good time."
Exactly.
And so everybody was just there in, like, support and unison, just, like, singing all the songs. It was honestly just magnetic. It
Beautiful.
really, really was, like, magical. It was, like, really crazy. Just being able to witness it in Seoul, that really added to the whole to the whole energy of everything, and then hearing the songs and everything and I know, like, at the time, I think RM had just injured his ankle. So
Yes.
he
It's like
was
the day
sitting down
before.
yeah, and so he was sitting down on the stage at first, and they're doing the choreo and stuff, and honestly, it just made me gain even more respect for him because I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this guy is not he's not letting anything stop him." Like,
Nope.
he's like, "A show is what we promised, and a show is what y'all are gonna get."
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's true showmanship, and they performed the record so well, and at first I was like, "Well, I don't know how everybody's gonna really receive the music because I feel like the album had came out that day. I
Yeah,
think
it
it
was
was that
right away.
it was, like, right away, but they had to do it because they were shooting it because then the Netflix doc was gonna air, like, the next
Mhm.
week, so everything was kinda, like, fast. So I was like, "Dang, I wonder how, like, the people are gonna" but let me tell you something, the Army, oh, honey,
They don't
they were
play.
on top they was on top of it. They knew
Mhm.
the songs, they knew lyrics. I was like, "Well, damn, this music has been out for all of 12 hours."
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. So that was a really cool moment.
It is really cool. I'm glad that you got to experience that and witness the passion of the fans and see how it really ignites the group as a whole when they're performing on stage. And I truly believe that RM possesses one of the greatest minds in contemporary culture. So I'm kind of curious, what was that creative chemistry like when your two worlds collided and you combined your beautiful brain and perspective with his lyrics and storytelling? Once you knew he liked you, once you got along.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about us was that the respect between creative to creative. Being a woman and a double minority at that, I'm a Black woman. Being a Black woman in foreign spaces is not always easy. It's not always easy to navigate. And sometimes, even internally, you wonder, like, do I belong here? Or is there room for me? Is there space for me? And I think that I didn't feel that not one time. Like working with him, there was a great respect for my lyricism, for my perspectives, for the way that I deliver things, even if it is a little more Western leaning, the demographics we create very differently. But I think that was what really made the rooms unique and special was like me respecting his lyricism and how he creates and him respecting my lyricism and how I create and, we were both bringing ideas, we were both bringing lyrics, we were both, shaping these stories. Even if there was a disagreement per se, it was never like I can't even call it a disagreement. It may have just been a challenge of the minds. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So it's like
absolutely.
if he thinks that we should say, "Oh, you know what? This is a true story."
Hmm.
In Swim, one lyric we went back and forth with for about 2 hours, I can't make this up, was, "I could spend a lifetime watching you." So the original lyric was, "I could spend a lifetime watching you." And I said, "Well,
Mhm.
maybe we can change it to Wonder Where the Waves Are Taking You."
Oh,
So we did a toss up between Wonder Where the Waves Are Taking You and I Could Spend a Lifetime Watching You for almost 2 hours. I cannot make this up.
wow.
Like, we were going back and forth, back and forth. I really liked I Wonder Where the Waves Are Taking You because I was like, if it's about life, it just felt introspective, and he was like, "I
Mhm.
like that, but there's something about I Could Spend a Lifetime Watching You," like, they both feel really good,
Yeah.
and then we settled on Wonder Where the Waves Are Taking You, and then I think at the very last minute when they actually, because I didn't go in to record with them, we did lyrics and they went off and recorded. So when they recorded, I think he said that the members really, really liked I Could Spend a Lifetime Watching You, so they ended up going with I Could Spend a Lifetime Watching You because it resonated, and he's very big on making sure, like, even though he and I worked together so
Mhm.
closely, he never leaves his brothers out.
I
Like,
love
he
that.
never, ever, ever leaves his brothers out. He's always just like, "I wanna make sure that there's a space for him. This one can sing
Mhm.
this one could do that. Okay, this one is stronger here. This one is stronger there."
Yeah.
And it's always making sure that there's, like, room and always being just very considerate of how they may feel singing a lyric or how comfortable they might be, so that was literally, like, one of the stories that happened.
That's amazing. That's a really beautiful story, and I think it's incredible because it showcases the importance of two minds coming together creatively to come up with something. But even after a 2-hour stretch over one singular line, that
Right.
final moment of him speaking with his members, speaking with the rest of BTS, kind of ultimately made that decision of I could spend a
Yeah.
lifetime watching you. But it doesn't
Yeah.
invalidate the conversations you had because that was part of the
No.
creative process.
All of it is a part of the process, and the thing
Mhm.
is that the biggest thing about the creative process is you cannot enter a room with ego. You just can't. I personally don't work in rooms with ego. Like, if there's too much ego in the room, I'm like, "Maybe this isn't the space for me." It's just one of those things where it's stifling. It doesn't allow for actual magic and God and all of these things to take place, and I personally don't wanna create without those things. I think that being able to work with him, like I said, and us having that debate, or not even really debate, but just the back and forth over, like, a singular line, and
Mhm.
then them ultimately settling on what's best for them. The first thing you have to always know as a songwriter or just as a creative, whether you're a producer, songwriter, lyric whatever, just because an idea might not be right for the song or might not be right for the moment, it doesn't mean it's
Mhm.
not good.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not right for this. It's almost like, girl, when you try on an outfit and you're like,
Mhm.
do I wear these shoes or do I wear these shoes? Both
Yeah.
shoes are a contender, and I love both shoes.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have both shoes.
Exactly.
But for this outfit, we want the pumps.
That's right. That's right.
so
Perfect
so that's
analogy.
So that's just how that works, and when you
Yeah,
just understand that it's not about something being good or bad, it's more about something being what's best, you just continue navigating and keep swimming.
exactly. Keep swimming. That's all you can do. And another thing I really love is you shared a beautiful piece of advice from Dallas Austin on your social media too that says there's a song in every sentence, which I love that because I
Yeah.
firmly believe it. So I'm kind of curious, what is the most vivid conversation you had with RM that unexpectedly sparked a brilliant lyric on one of these songs?
Ooh, that is a good you know what? I would probably I would probably say that about Normal.
Oh, okay.
I would probably say that about Normal because Normal we had to do a lot of digging. I don't wanna say too much of what certain conversations were because I think that's just
Of
not
course.
really a trustworthy thing to do,
Mhm.
with any artist. You know, when you're in an artist creative space, it's a sacred space, so
Absolutely.
you just wanna be respectful of certain things, but I think
Mhm.
that what I can say or what I will say is I remember, like, when I was asking him what their normal is, and he was like, "We've been doing this since we were practically kids."
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I can't just go and get a cup of coffee. You know, I can't just like walk down the street, and he's like, and the way my life is set up, he's like, I get up, we might be able to go to the gym, we go to the studio, you know, I come home, I try to like get a little bit of rest, I try to, whatever. And as he's explaining all of these things, one of the lines that we were taught, I was like, well, you don't have a second to really turn off. And so when we
Oh.
said, wish I had a minute just to turn me off,
Mhm.
we were like, "What are things that you turn off?" You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, you turn off TV, you turn off lights, and it's like, "But what about turning off your mind?"
Exactly.
Like, I don't get an opportunity to turn my
Wow.
mind off. So
Mhm.
that was definitely, like that conversation, um, it definitely, you know,
Spark
helped
that.
and this sparked the lyrics and for Normal for sure.
That's incredible because
Just
that's
made me just
actually
like, "Oh my god," as I,
I
like, go walk
know.
down the street and get my matcha in peace. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Yeah, it resonates with you on a deeper level because that is such an emotionally beautiful lyric. The first time I heard that, like, "That wish I had a minute just to turn me off," it
Yeah,
really struck me. It was like, "Aw," like, even the
yeah,
delivery of it is so emotional, so it's beautiful to learn the story behind it.
yeah.
And I also want to talk to you about Hooligan because I know that you were involved in the lyrical process on that track too. And that one was like one of the more polarizing tracks at first on the album because it's got that classical sample, the
Chords and
metallic percussion. Yeah, it's like insane. But I think the lyrics are really cool. So I want to dive deeper into that. How did that unfold?
Hooligan was kinda like what it was for the most part when they brought it.
Mm,
And they just really loved it. Like, they really, really loved it, so I was just, like, looking and I'm just like, "What parts of this could we make it, like, more you and stuff like that?" So, as we, like, kinda comb through, like shout out Mark Lowe. Mark Lowe also, like, worked on Hooligan, and he's,
mm-hmm.
like, one of the best songwriters and just dope creatives. Hooligan, like, when I heard it, it was already so dynamic and so polarizing and so just like, "Damn, like, this is hitting." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, I was like, "Oh, okay, like, we
mm-hmm.
hooligans, alright." Um,
That's right.
so, yeah, so Hooligan already kinda had this and even that laugh, he's like, "The laugh is it." I'm like, "The laugh is crazy."
It is crazy.
The laugh is crazy. So, that was one of the ones that it had, like, a lot of shaping. We didn't really need to do much in terms of, like, changing the direction. We tweaked the lyrics, like, a little just to feel more relatable to them, but that one, they had already had that record in, like, such a great place, so by the
Wow.
time it got to me and RM, for us to, like, tweak it and to make it more fitting for them, that one was
Mm-hmm.
probably definitely, like, the easier one to work on.
Nice. That's really cool. Cause one of my favorite parts is, like, the crowd looking like a campus, beat drop, we still
Oh,
dancing.
yeah. Yep.
I'm obsessed
Exactly,
with
and
that.
yeah, and then they did translate a lot of it as well. Believe that when they translated a lot of so the thing is like when they translate a lot of the records, that is like a whole other process. Like I obviously don't speak
Of
Korean.
course.
Maybe I do. I learned kamsamida the other day, which is thank you. So
Nice.
I
Yes,
learned
it
that.
is.
But that's about as far as it goes. Finding like certain parts that just made it feel like more them, just kept the energy
Mhm.
going. And then, they were able because creating songs for them is a process. It's not a linear process. There's a lot that goes into it. There are a lot of creatives. We all play a role. We all play very significant roles because the bigger things is the more hands it takes. Um,
Absolutely.
and so, that's a big part of it. The songs will come to us, we'll do what needs to be done. And then they also just decide like, hey, we're gonna have this translated into Korean because they were very big again on just like not abandoning their Korean
Absolutely.
fan base. It's like, okay, do we leave this part because we're gonna have that part translated, or this part we need to take it and make it feel more like them. Hooligan was one of the ones that was in a great, great, great space. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy I was able to come in and just help to amplify it and make it a bit
Yeah.
better and everything. But shout out to the guys that kicked that one off because they
Yeah.
killed it.
They really did. They absolutely killed it. It's a great song. I do want to throw in a little bit of Like Animals because that
It's my
song
favorite.
has it's one of my favorites too.
It's my
Oh,
favorite. It is
it's
my
beyond
favorite.
me how
Yeah.
beautiful it is. All the lyrics are gorgeous. So what? Your shadow's a mess. I'm walking with my own dirt.
Girl,
Everything.
I ate with that.
You okay, so that was you. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because you did. It's such a gorgeous lyric.
I had, RM and so Like Animals is my favorite song on the project. And I love it because I am a poetry girl. I
Me too.
love a deep, introspective, I'm an Aquarius, so I love anything that makes the brain go whoosh. You know what I
I'm a
mean?
Pisces, so
So,
I get it.
oh, so
I'm
that's
right
why you
with
love
you.
swim, water,
Yep,
water.
yep.
So
You
yeah,
got
as
me.
Pisces, you Pisces, you guys are so what's the word I'm looking for? Whimsical and just like you guys are just very intuitive and just like deep because you're water, you know what I mean? So you're just like
Yeah,
deep thinkers and like all the things. So
yeah.
you get it.
I get it.
But Like Animals is my favorite. It's my favorite song that I was like able to work on. When I first heard it, that one was started, I believe, by Artemis and Bonox, I believe. Shout out to both of
Mhm.
those guys. Originally, that record was more, again, sensual and not tumultuous, but like it was just sensual. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe we can make it about, again, like something about like just going after life fearlessly. And they were like, okay, like we really like that. So we're sitting there and we're trading lyrics. And that's where I call myself Shakespeare every now and again. I
You
get to be
are. I love it.
Shakespeare, bro.
Shakespeare. Mhm.
So that was where I really got to pull Shakespeare out. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do this. So
Yep.
I think that, like you said, so what, your shadow's a mess. I'm walking with my own dirt. I think my favorite lyric that I was able to contribute on that record and probably on the whole project was definitely beauty. There's beauty outside control.
I wrote that down. It's my favorite
Yeah.
too.
And I remember when I wrote that one down, RM and the A&R that was sitting with us, her name's Yoon. Shout out to you. She's amazing. But what they both looked at me like, oh, oh, we're getting really poetic here. And I was like,
Mhm.
please, let's do it. I love a poetic moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's beauty outside control is because I just live my life like that. And I think that was the last song we worked on. 6 feet into the sand, there's creatures that made a hole. Do speak, I'm begging you, please. There's beauty outside control. Sorry, I write so many songs. I be having to like
It's all
go
good.
back and
I
remember
love it.
when I was able to spit that lyric out. And I just saw his face and I saw Yoon's face when I said that one. And I think that there's beauty outside control. It was definitely me speaking to him, myself, to people. It was a sum of all the conversations we had had about the restrictions and feeling like, okay, what do I say? What do I this? The parameters, you know what I mean? And it was just almost
Absolutely.
like, what if we just said what we wanted to say and we just went for the madness. So even in the hook, like eat this life till your heart is full. Go after it. You know what I mean? Go after all the things. Take me into your deep. I want to lay in your world. So what, your shadow's a mess. I'm walking with my own dirt. It's really just about you don't have to be perfect. And it's okay if you're not perfect because I'm not perfect either. You're a mess. I'm a mess. Let's go be messes together. It's
Exactly.
fine. Fine.
Exactly.
So
It's
yeah, so
beautiful.
Like Animals is an absolutely beautiful song. It is by far my favorite song on the project. It's one of my favorite songs ever that I've been able to just write, like of all the records that I've been blessed to be a part of throughout the duration of my career. That is definitely one of my all-time favorites. I love that record. So good.
So good. I love that record. I think we all need to thank Shakespeare for your work, for your service, for giving us the most heartfelt, beautiful lyrics. Seriously, because whenever I'm having a hard day and I'm being down on myself, because I'm a perfectionist too, another Pisces struggle.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
need to
yeah.
remind myself, like, we are all beautiful messes on this earth.
Everybody's got their own dirt. It's
Yes.
okay. Everybody's got their own dirt, and I think that's myself, that's them, that's
Mm-hmm.
everybody. That's, the lady down the street, that's the biggest artist in the world. It doesn't matter. Like, everybody's got their shadows, everybody's got their own dirt, and we can just be like the animals. Like, we
Yeah.
could literally just, like, live life. Like, the animals aren't really out here concerned with what people gotta say, or how people feel.
Yeah.
They just out here living life, drinking water, eating grass, eating other animals, whatever. They just out here living life, you know?
Exactly.
So we should be
Yes.
like the animals.
We should be like the animals. It's so
Yeah,
true.
thank you for having me. You are absolutely, like, the sweetest. I've had, like, such a good time. Like,
Aw.
the time is, like, flying. It doesn't even feel like we've been
It
sitting here
is flying. It really is. That like I have an arsenal of questions for you, but out of respect of this beautiful situation, I'm gonna be mindful and only ask one, maybe two, to
Okay, you're
close us
good.
out. But one of the questions I really had is that throughout this whirlwind of success, you've constantly given God all the glory in your celebration post. I've noticed him as a very common thread on everything. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
wondering, was there a specific undeniable moment when you were writing during these sessions that you felt him working through you and helping you with specific obstacles?
I think that I feel God in every session I go in, whether
Mhm.
it's BTS or, Cash Doll or Sweetie or Jennie or whatever it is. Like, any
Yeah.
session that I go into, um, God is present. Um, and it's impossible for God not to be present when you're doing an act of service, right? So
Mhm.
songwriting is a service. You're there providing a service.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So, like, you're finding lyrics, you're finding melodies, you're ultimately you're morphing into somebody else. You're taking
Mhm.
on somebody else's shadows and their skin, and you're trying to become them and get into their brain as best as you can to convey whatever it is that they want to say, because your job is to help them find the words for emotions that they don't know how to, and sometimes they
Exactly.
they do, right? So that's where conversation in the studio, shout out Dallas, is important, right? There was a time where I used to think, or and there's some people that still think that way, like, you get in the studio and it's just like, yo, what's up? Yeah, all right, turn the beat on. No,
Yeah,
absolutely,
no.
right?
Mm-mm.
No. We're gonna sit here. How's your day? What did you eat today? What's your sign? Where'd you grow up? Da 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 da. And it's not like an interview, but it's more in a just a flow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because then you sit there and you talk for like 30 minutes, and now it's like, got it. Now I kind of have an idea of what they will say, what they won't say. And then you build that bond, and God is the only thing that can be present in the midst of that.
Mhm.
You can't do that without him, at
Yeah.
least for me. I can't do it without him. During all of my sessions, like I said, anytime you are placed in an environment to provide a service, because for me, like, I was raised in church, like, I received Jesus as my savior and
Mhm.
my
Me
Lord.
too.
So, like, this was a person that he provided services, he washed feet, he went around, he did, you know what I mean? So for me,
Mhm.
it's like, I'm not above that. So it's the same humility. And that's why it kind of goes back to what I was saying, where I was like, I don't really do well with creating in spaces that are full of ego, or spaces where we don't know how to be respectful of each other's gifts. That's the biggest thing. We have to be respectful of each other's gifts and what everyone brings to the table, whether it's melody or lyric or conversation, or even if you're a person that just has a really great ear and you're like, nah, like, don't do it like that. Like, can we find another option? Can we this? Like, all of it is important.
It actually reminded me of the lyric to Swim with the "Name a place that I could be on this map world, looking like a goody goody in this bad world," or
Yes.
"Breathe on this map," because it's that whole idea of being one with each other. Not no one's above anyone, no one's below anyone. We all bring something creatively to the table, and being in other creators' presence is a gift, and it is God who
Absolutely.
allows for this all to be orchestrated. So you don't want to have that ego when you're in a space like that, creating something so powerful. It's a service not just to the artist that you're working with, but also to the world who gets to hear the music afterwards.
Exactly. And even in Swim, another one of my favorite lyrics on the project, but it was when it was in the pre-hook when we said it was right here with the moon and the sharks. I don't have to think about a thing. I just swim.
Yeah.
And it was funny because at first we were like trying to find a word and RM is like, I really like the word shark. And I was like, what? Okay. I was like, okay. And at first he was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then he like, we're talking about other things and he kind of comes back to it and he's like, no, I really, really like the word shark. He's like, I don't know. And I was like, hmm. I was like, maybe we could say the moon and the sharks, like the moon and because at first I think we were like, oh, the moon and the stars. And it's like, no, it's cheesy.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, the moon and the sharks. And I'm like, that's actually kind of fire. Like the moon, the sharks, like, and everything, like from the lowest of the low, like sharks are super below and the moon is all the way. I was like, we actually ate with that. I was like one
You
of those
did.
lines we're like collaborating on and we're like, he's like shark. And I'm like, moon and sharks. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
and that's how the creative process works a lot of times too. It's so collaborative. Somebody might start a line and you finish the line, or you did the whole line and then they come in with the second one. And that's the only way
Definitely.
that you can actually like get
Make it
through it.
happen. Yeah,
Make it
and
happen.
get right here with the moon and the sharks. So
That's right.
brilliant. I love
Thank
that
you.
line. You're welcome. And I did wanna ask you, just because you mentioned the co-writing process, you also worked on Zen for Jennie, which we spoke about
Yeah.
prior, and that is Shakespeare. Like, those lyrics are stunning. So can
Thank
you talk to
you.
me a little bit about your favorite lyrics on that project? Because, oh my god.
In the dark I grew. I can tell you that right
Midnight bloom, in the
in
dark
the
I
dark
grew.
I grew. So BB Borelli, shout out to her. I got a call from Plus. My guy, he's an amazing, amazing producer. He called me. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and he's just like, "Hey, we got BB Borelli over here. She's looking for somebody to write with today, but she wants like girly energy, like girl to girl
Yeah,
energy." I was like, "Okay,
of
cool." So I'll pull
course.
up. It
Yeah.
was my first time working with BB. BB is an outer worldly brilliant mind. Like her mind and the way that it shapes things and where she pulls things from sonically, it's otherworldly. It's not
Yeah.
normal. Like
Mhm.
it's insane. So Zen came about because we were just there having conversations. Nicole Kim was there, and we're just there having like, girls just talking again, conversation in the studio. At the time, I was really, really tired because I owned a cafe in Atlanta and I was like running my coffee shop and writing music and doing all the things. And
Yeah.
I was so exhausted. And we're just sitting there and just having like the conversation with other strong women. It was just kind of like giving me energy. And I remember like we were talking and I was just like, I am who I am and I dare somebody to try to shake me. And BB looked at me and was like, I dare you shake me. And she was like, then she just starts going off and she's like, I dare you shake me. I dare you shake me. And she's like, we need to have a beat that's like boom, 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 and like all this stuff. And Plus is looking at her like, okay. And Zen just starts like coming to life. And
Wow.
he's like, "It needs to feel like command." And she's like, "Down, now." And she starts like saying all this stuff. And then we're like going back and forth on lyrics. I said something like, I am what you think about me. Whatever you heard about me, like that's what it is. So we're
Mhm.
throwing all these things. And me and BB, like we're co-writing the first half of it, which was the actual first verse and the pre-hook. My girl Jelly came in later on and she helped with the hook. So we just had like a lot of the first half. And then Nicole Kim called me and she was like, "Hey, we really, really love Zen." She was like, "Do you mind finishing the rest of the record?" And I was like, "Sure."
Wow.
So I went to a studio in LA called Westlake and I wrote the second half of the song. And
Amazing.
again, that record will forever mean a lot to me as a woman, as a creative, as somebody that has to power through things when you want to do them, when you don't want to do them. Thick skin layered like chains on chains on chains. I wear the pressure
Mhm.
off my neck and rings. Rain, midnight bloom in the dark I grew. And even those are some of my I have a couple songs where I'm like, these are some of my favorite lyrics ever. And that I might tattoo those lyrics on me.
You should.
I might.
I support it.
Because baby, those lyrics were experience. And,
They are.
when I saw the people on Twitter, like, just quoting that part specifically, and even when Jennie would do her interviews and talk about, like, how Zen was, like, one of her favorite records or was her favorite record, like,
Mhm.
that was a different level of fulfillment for me
Yeah,
and gratitude because, again, you're not really doing your job if you're not, like, speaking to people's emotions, speaking to,
absolutely.
what they feel, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't always have to be introspective. I don't care if
Mhm.
it's Friday and I just got a check and now I'm outside. Like, that's
Mhm.
an emotion. Speak
It
to it.
is. Every emotion is
So
valid.
every emotion is every emotion is valid. Midnight bloom in the dark I grew. Honey, I'm still growing in the dark some days. So
Me too.
that's yeah, we all are.
We all are.
We're all messes.
We're all messes, we're all
We're
growing in
all
the dark,
messes.
we're all swimming through life.
Yes.
We
So
really are. It's beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you so much for your time
Oh
today,
my
A-Chic.
God. I had a blast.
I'm so
I had a
glad.
blast with you. I'm so glad that I was able to be here. Thank you for having me. Shout out to you and your
Thank you.
platform and the Army for all their support
Yes.
over time. The Army is by far one of the most like intense but respectful fan bases I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life. It's so beautiful to like witness and to be a part of. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. I hope
Thank
I answered a
you.
lot of your questions.
You answered all of my questions, honestly. The only thing that's still here that I didn't ask you is just kind of what is your current dream right now? Because that's something I love to ask everyone on my show. You've succeeded with so many beautiful accomplishments. You've created lyrics treasure troves blooming that have just healed people across the globe. But what is your dream right now?
My dream, this might sound crazy. My dream is to cultivate a space of peace where I can just create and continue to live out every single last one of these crazy ideas that pop into my head day in and day out, but to be able to build them and execute them from a place of peace and certainty and from a place of just passion and not really having to do it because I feel like someone said I should or not doing it because someone said I shouldn't. That's a dream. And I think I'm doing my best to like make that a reality.
Yeah.
I do have music that I work on for myself. I am an artist as well. I have children's books that I'm writing.
Wow.
There's a lot of things and I have a ton of ideas and it's really just to bring them all to fruition and do it in a way where I can just still be at peace and bring peace to
And
other
bring
people.
peace. Yeah.
Peace is an underrated luxury. And the more you grow and the more your career grows and the more that things take shape and they move forward, you really just start realizing how important peace is and how undervalued it is. And peace doesn't always mean like, oh, I'm just sitting in quiet. It just means that whether you're in a party or with family or traveling the world or whatever it is, you just feel a sense of content doing it. You just
Yeah.
know that where you're supposed to be. You're okay with what worked out. You're okay with what didn't work out. It's and nothing can shake you.
Nothing can shake you, just like Zen.
Zen,
You're gonna
zen.
keep the Z.
Oh, honey, we're not letting the Z go at
We're
all.
not letting the Z go. We
No.
really aren't. Wow, wow, Chic.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful dream. Not crazy at all. I think it's incredibly hopeful, and I think you are already a living testament of that, of preserving peace. And I really
Thank
mean it
you.
because the songs that you have kind of breathed life into through your lyrics are giving people peace all around the world. It's a little corner of peace that
Makes
they
me
can listen
happy.
to heal and find that peace within themselves. And I think that through all of your work, you're going to continue to create these safe spaces for others and for yourself to be that channel of peace. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your peace with us today and your honesty.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for having me. I had the absolute best time with you. And congratulations on everything you're doing. And I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see your platform just like continue to grow. And just you are
Thank
such a
you.
beautiful spirit. So wishing that peace and that confidence on you as well, that you know that wherever you are, God put you there, you belong there. Continue to just keep your humility and, just that little pure Pisces spirit of yours.
I will.
Yeah.
I will try.
Yeah,
I
for
will do
sure.
my
And
best. Thank
all
you.
right, and I'll see you next time.
Yes, definitely. And that concludes this episode of Kale. Thank you all for
Yes.
tuning in and listening. Make sure to follow A.Chic on all of her socials. I'll be linking them below, as well as the Written by Chic Spotify playlist, so you can take a look at that. And that's all for Kale. Thank you guys for listening.
Bye, Kale.
Bye.